Hello, everyone. This is Mike from Dimensional Walking. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects and some of the most favorite videos on our site here on our channel, Dulce Underground Base. Okay, so I've done about 4 or 5 videos related to either the Dulce Underground Base Conference or the base itself and some of the exploring I had done there and people that I had talked to related to the Dulce Underground Base. So today I actually was looking through some notes last night, and I ran across some information that happened during the Dulce Base Underground Base that Norio did in I think it was like the first one. I think there was a couple of them afterwards, but there was at least this first one was in let me see, March 29th. I remember it was on a Sunday, and it was 2009. Okay, so this conference, I and a couple of the other people from the UFO forum that I ran in New Mexico for quite a few years, actually. I guess it was 9 or 10 years. And so we went up there and we helped a little bit of a backstage help for Norio. He pretty much was a one-man show, but there were some things we did eventually help him with, and I think he was very appreciative to that. So anyways, so there was two people I want to kind of talk about today. The first one is Hoyt Varlarte. Hoyt was he was the former public safety director. He's a pretty big honcho up there, and of course, as you probably know, this is on the Hickory Apache reservation. And he was the guy. He was a really colorful character because back, I guess it's probably 10 years before that, so it'd probably been 1999-ish, that Norio went up there with a film crew from Japan and started, kind of snooping around and trying to figure out what was all this about, this underground base up there in Dulce, right? So anyways, Hoyt, who was the public service director, then I guess that's sort of like the police chief in a way. Maybe they still had a police chief, but he's a big honcho. He probably actually was over the police chief of the town of Dulce. So anyways, he apparently detained Norio and this Japanese film crew. And I laughingly say it was an international incident. And I guess they were detained for several hours. I'm not sure if they were actually thrown into a jail cell or not. But they were detained in a room somewhere, and they weren't allowed to probably go out and do whatever they were there to do, at least at that time anyways. Well, after several hours, I guess it finally did clear up. And to some extent, I guess, Norio and Hoyt became kind of fast friends over the years. That would be another 10 years before he actually did this conference, right? So anyways, so I get there to the conference, and of course we were there. There's, if you go and look at some of the other videos, there'll be some other information what all happened. There's some really crazy stuff that happened before and after the conference itself and during the conference, okay? So anyways, one of the things when we were there for the conference, so we got up there on Saturday and stayed overnight at the hotel there. So then next day we had the conference, and we were hanging out, and Norio was there. He's playing his instruments and doing a little singing, and there were some people to take tickets and take money and etc. And anyways, the crowd was quite amazing. It was probably a lot more than Norio ever thought. And this space was not the biggest space, okay? I'm not even sure, was it enough space for 100 people? Maybe not even that. It was a fairly small space, and it actually was in the hotel itself. It was kind of in part of the lounge area of the bar area. So anyways, this thing was filling up, and there was a lot of people, and it was like lined up. And all of a sudden, Norio, this guy approaches Norio, and come to find out he's the fire marshal. And he's like all flipped out because apparently he was sitting out there counting the number of people that were going inside of this venue. And apparently we were already, with the people that were lined up, we were going to be over 50% over occupancy. Okay, and of course this this freaked out Norio. He didn't really know what to do, so he approached me and said, "Hey, go find Hoyt Varlarte." And he described him to me. I didn't know who he was. So I went around him because he apparently Norio knew he was close by. So I went out and I looked around and I asked around, is Hoyt around, Hoyt? And all of a sudden this guy kind of raises his hand and said, "Yeah, I'm Hoyt. What can I do for you?" And he was kind of a little bit of a gruff kind of guy. And I said, "Listen, you need to really help us. You know, we're past the fire. Can you talk to the fire marshal?" He said, "No, I'm not going to mess with him. But I tell you what I can do. Give me a few minutes, and I'll tell the fire marshal we're going to look for a new venue somewhere's close by, and we can just maybe hopefully walk over there." So anyways, he went out, and he was gone for about 10 or 15 minutes. He comes back and said, "Hey, I got this other venue. I think we can hold everybody. It should be great." So bottom line was Hoyt was sort of a hero because in reality, that could have ended the conference right there, and we never would have had all the excitement that came afterwards. So anyways, I think Hoyt probably felt a little bit guilty in a weird way because of what he did to Norio probably 10 years earlier. So I think he was just trying to help, kind of resolve that issue that happened so many years ago. And I think he just befriended Norio. Norio's a really nice guy, so it'd be hard to hold a grudge against him for that many years. So anyway, so Hoyt was kind of the hero. And Hoyt, I don't think he did speak at the directly. He wasn't one of the presenters, but we were talking to Hoyt, I think actually before everything started, and he had stated that he didn't know. He claims at first he claimed that he didn't know anything about the underground base, but he heard rumors, lots of rumors. He said, but he said one of the things that was interesting. He did say that he's absolutely certain, without a doubt, that there was a ton of UFO sightings because he used to get all kinds when he was the public safety director, and even now he said he would get all these reports of UFOs flying all over the area, all over the Dulce area. So that was an interesting confirmation, I guess I would say. And then he said another interesting thing. He said that he had tried to locate the entrance to the underground base, and we're kind of like, what? Well, that's a pretty amazing fact. He said never did find it, and then that was our confirmation that he did try to find it. So, apparently he had some pretty good interest in it. He's looking for it. But he did tell a story, and he related this to the entrance. And he said there was a school. It was close to Lahara Lake, and I'm not sure where Lahara Lake is, but I believe it is close, and I should have checked the map out before I did this video, but I believe it was close to somewhere between Dulce and the Archuleta Mountain. Okay, so this lake exists here, and he thought there was a school there right by this lake, and for some reason he thought this was the entrance because he said there was a story about this boy whose parents died of polio. Okay, and this boy was living at this school. Okay, and he had apparently this boy had this cleaning job, and it was rumored that it was deep inside Archuleta Mountain. Okay, which would tend to believe that there was like something underneath Archuleta Mountain, right? And the boy apparently had communicated to I guess one of his officers at the time that there was many people working under in this facility. He didn't really go into any kind of real detail, but he said that from that base you could travel all around the world. Okay. And he made a comment. He just says, "I'm sure there's a lot more to that wild story," but that was all he knew, and that's all he would say about. Hoyt also said, he said, if any of you would like to go out and explore and see if we could find solid evidence that would confirm the base, then he'd be more than willing to do that. Now, we had thought about that. There was some of us in the thing that were going to take him up on that, right? Norio kind of backed away a little bit. He wasn't really too sure. He thought it was cool, but at the same time, I don't think he was ready to jump in on that. He just kind of felt that it was a way in which to kind of keep track of us non-tribal folks, and I guess in this case white folks, from just wandering all over the area. So I think that was the main reason he was going to do that. So, and then on the very end, Hoyt surprised all of us, and he said that he'd be more than willing to host a Dulce 2 conference, and they would actually host it inside the public safety building in their very large conference room. So that was interesting. So there is a lot of interest in Dulce, and I think they actually saw that from the crowd that we had gotten, or that Noriel got. I shouldn't say we had, but Noriel had gotten. That there was, that would bring in hundreds of people at one time for the hotel and for some of the restaurants, and it would be a little bit of a tourist draw. And I think they didn't want to poo-poo that. I didn't think it was bad a couple of times a year that people would come up there and use the facilities and do that, and they could put some money into the local economy. So anyways, I think that was the main reason. How seriously Hoyt took the whole UFO / underground base thing, I have no clue. But he did talk about it. That was for sure. So the second person I want to talk about that was also at the conference was Gabe Valdez. Gabe was a New Mexico State policeman. And as you may know, many of you probably know, he was the main investigator in the cattle mutilations in the Dulce area in the 70s and 80s. Okay, and we're not going to go into all that, but I just want to give you a little background on him. And there was people that, of course, there that were trying to connect the cattle deaths, the mutilations, to the underground base. And they call it the hungry beef aliens, okay, who may or may not have worked at the underground base or were at the underground base. I don't know if they worked there, but I guess they were there. There was a lot of rumors to that effect. But Gabe was quick always to say there was no alien involvement, okay. I don't know why he always said that, but he was always really, he did acknowledge UFOs, and he did acknowledge he thought there was something underneath the Archuleta Mountain. But he added there is more information. He'd always add there's information, but it's too sensitive for our ears. So his particular, I would say his particular speech there, a little talk there was what I call short and sweet, and it had no meat. Okay, so he didn't really say too much of anything. But I just wanted to remind you something. I probably mentioned this in one of the many videos we've done, that Gabe, I had him, he was one of the speakers at, we call it Wake Up Now conference in Albuquerque back, I'm trying to think how many years ago. That was a long time ago. Anyways, it was one of the first conferences, kind of a UFO, kind of metaphysical type conference in Albuquerque. We held at a casino. And he was there. Now that I think about it, I don't think he actually spoke there, but he did come. And I was able to sit and talk to him, and I knew him. We had had many other conversations in the past. But what was interesting about this conversation was he was very, I don't want to say aggressive, but he wanted to find me. I was doing all the operational logistics for the conference, and he wanted to make sure he found me and sat down with me and made me an offer that he thought I couldn't refuse. I mean, I definitely was going to think about it, but the offer was he was going to take me to where one of the vents for the underground base are, which to me would have been really a confirmation that the base actually did exist. And he's been there at this particular place, and he actually, you could feel the venting and the heat and the stuff rising out of this underground base. Anyway, so he told me about it, and I said, hey, listen, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. Give me a little time. And I kind of said I was busy for the next week or two, but I would get back to him. And I wanted to have a little chance to talk to Norio, and I wanted to have a little chance to think about it, okay, before I went out there, and who knows what would happen. Although he was well connected in the Hickory Apache Nation, and he could have went anywhere, and nobody would have questioned him at all. and he was not Hickory Apache that I'm aware of. So, but the sad thing about it, it wasn't too long after that he died. Okay, and I personally think it was a mysterious death. I really, really do. But his son claims maybe he just had a heart attack. That's what the official word was. But it was pretty strange, and I still think there's something that should be investigated. Who knows? Okay. So, anyways, so that was my two interesting things from the notes I had taken, and I wanted to at least share that with you. And I just want to say that Dulce Underground Base and everything that surrounds it is so fascinating, and it seems like people out there that watch this channel have always supported and had a tremendous interest in Dulce. And there's really good reasons for it. It really is, because over my years when I lived in Mexico, there was a ton of information that I dug up, and Norio dug up, and apparently Hoyt dug up, and there was many, many, many stories. And as I dig through my notes, I'll probably try to share more of it with you. My notes got a little scattered in a couple moves I had since, but there is more things. And of course, we do have 4 or 5 other videos about Dulce Underground Base on the channel that if you haven't seen those, I welcome you to go and find them. They're not that hard to find, and you can watch some of the other information that I had on the base and the conference both. So anyways, with all that said, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.